So I think when I talk about like what is more probable, I'm talking in terms of I'm making a scientific claim, right? Like what's more probabilistic? Like is it God going to be God? In that context,
Yeah,
I would say that aliens are more probable.
yeah, Warzone. I'm gonna agree with you. Scientifically, science is gonna be the study of natural things. You're not
Yeah.
gonna be able to like at all come to any probable or possible conclusions of something immaterial. So yeah, I agree. Under the context of science and scientific truths, then yeah. But under the context of just um philosophical definitions within truth or possibilities, then I disagree. But in science, I would agree. Then yeah, aliens scientifically are more probable to exist. God scientifically has no evidence on existing because it's science.
But the
Very physical
problem is
thing.
like I don't see a real reason why something immaterial should be completely impossible for science to show any kind of probability. Why do you think that is the case?
Because science can only study or observe material things within the natural realm,
Okay,
versus God
is it
definitionally is supernatural and immaterial.
Mhm. Yeah, so is it possible for God to interact with the physical world?
I know, but we're not talking about epistemology or any belief of God interacting. We're just talking about the existence of a like basic theological
No,
class.
that's what I'm saying, right? If it is possible for God to interact with almost any like a religious person would agree with, if it is
Yeah.
possible for him to interact with the physical world such that he can cause change, that
Uh-huh.
change would be measurable and that would be
If
like
he
indirect
didn't,
evidence for God.
yeah, but if he didn't, right? If he's never interacted with the world, you can't scientifically prove him. Correct?
Okay, did he create the universe?
Sure.
Okay, so then
He was the first.
th-
Yeah, well, there's like first cause and second cause. I'm gonna argue the universe was growing via the Big Bang Theory. I'm just gonna contribute to the universe being expansive and generating mass. But I'm gonna argue he was the cause of that. So he wouldn't be like a direct cause, more as an indirect causality of it.
yeah, so even if he did cause it indirectly, the fact that he has some kind of a connection with that, like he needs some kind of a connection with that, correct?
No, there's no. He does. Yeah, since God is immaterial, it's just energies can just be interactive of it. And even if he did, right, there's no way for us to see any further back than what we already know from the universe. So we wouldn't even be able to know anyway scientifically. So this
So
still
then
doesn't
what
prove
I'd
it.
say is that I don't think God would necessarily be impossible to show, like in the absolute sense. I would just say that like given the current like circumstances, maybe it might be difficult for science to like get to God, but provided that God could make some kind of like an interaction with the
Yeah,
universe, or like if somebody comes up with a hypothesis that they believe that
yeah,
God is true, or just by their direct mind communication with God they can make the claim that okay, God talks with me, and if God is real, I make this
well,
prediction
this
that this
is
person
yeah,
that has cancer, I'll
well,
heal him in the next 5 minutes,
yeah.
and in the next 5 minutes, without any medical intervention, the person gets healed. That would be a testable prediction for God, right?
WarzoneX, I like under this is gonna be a generation narrative, right? You're just generating a narrative in which God were to act upon something, therefore science would respond to it. But this basis of the argument is right now. Can we come to a conclusion on whether or not God or aliens are more possible under the context of science? Now, under what we're presupposing, we're not assuming any epistemology or any classic belief in religion. We're only assuming to the basic conceptual understanding of a theological God, presupposing he has obviously not interacted with mankind yet, since there is no prophecy he sent down and we're not referring to an actual individual religion. But I see where you're coming from. I agree. Science, possibly, hypothetically, if God were to interact with us, could come to a conclusion, at least somewhat, on God existing. But I'm saying, as of the debating prompt in the context of what we're talking about, science could not prove a God who is immaterial, supernatural, and non interactive of the universe. It's
I
impossible.
think I know. I think it's still possible. So, like, let's take for example some prophecies in the Bible, right? So,
That's
let's say that
interactive.
Bible did in fact wait.
Wait, Warzone,
No,
that's
no, one sec, one
interactive.
sec. Yeah, no. I'm saying it's still possible for that to be evidence. Let's say that Christians claim that Bible is the word of God, and now the Bible has certain prophecies. Now, let's say that the claim is that the hypothesis is that God is the one that has actually given them these these verses or whatever is there in the Bible, and now somebody makes
Retard.
like a prophetic prediction, and the prediction comes true, and the prediction is highly accurate, like a scientific prediction. That would already be evidence for God, even though we
Wait,
can't see
Warzone.
directly God directly, or even though God is not interacting with the universe.
Yeah,
That
so
would still be
this is
evidence.
God is interacting with the universe because they're receiving prophecy. This is narrative generation. You're generating narrative in which science could be able to do it. I'm saying right now you cannot definitively use science to come to a conclusion of God, since we're only taking the standpoint of a theological God who has not interacted. So if you give an example of God interacting via prophecy,
Mhm.
interacting via
Yeah.
messages, interacting via healing
Okay.
sicknesses, this is all forms of interaction. But in this debate, I'm only assuming the stance of a God who has not interacted.
So why wouldn't like him creating the universe like be not, like no, wait, how would that not be an interaction if he creates a universe?
Yeah, that would be an interaction, but only admitted abstractly through energy. But I've already been over that right now. Science, it's impossible for us to view any further back than what we have of the universe. We can't go any further back. And
No,
as I
you
said
don't have to,
before,
right? If we can make a hypothesis with testable predictions, even without seeing the past, we can indirectly infer like whatever is possible that could have happened. Right? We
yeah,
have
but
like
right
candidate
now,
hypotheses like.
yeah, I got you. But right now, from the expanse of the universe, since God did not set the universe in chain, but instead set its own sequencing of chains into motion, and we cannot see the first sequence of chains, there's no way for us to ever come to the conclusion of God's interaction.
No, I'm not talking about God's interaction necessarily, but when you say that, like, there is a point to which we can see back as far back as we can go, like the
Yeah,
Planck time, or I
yeah,
think the Planck epoch, right?
yeah.
So
I think that's
I
as
think
far.
that's as far as we can see, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we can't, bring out candidate hypotheses or theories that can explain what probably happened
Okay,
before.
yeah.
Because
Just
if these
give one.
theories are making predictions, right? Like one sec, like for example, quantum field theory. In emergent space-time theories, like space and time emerges from fields, so fields could be a candidate explanation for what happened before the Big Bang. Similarly, the cyclic
Yeah,
universe cosmology,
a
where
hundred
we could
percent,
say
100%.
that, yeah,
But the
yeah.
problem is with God, whatever caused the expansion of the universe, God is going to have caused that. So that means even if we figure out what causes the expansion of the universe, which you
Mhm.
can't scientifically prove we can right now, that's still no way to prove that God has any form of interaction with that. Do you see what I'm saying?
We know, but if somebody makes a prediction and the prediction is related to God or whatever, that would still be evidence, right? Even though you reject that.
No, no.
Wait, wait, wait,
Predict.
wait. Can I
Why?
ask the question that why would the field be why would the field have to not be eternal as well? Like, so if you said that whatever created the laws of
Yeah.
physics and space time would have to be created as well, under what conditions?
Are you talking to
Why
me?
Yeah,
would
and
that
then
have to be?
we
Yeah,
wouldn't need
I
God,
only
right, to
hear
No,
you.
explain
no,
that.
no. I was saying, yeah. So I was saying, under the context of a theological God existing, who created the universe, we're just assuming the base theological form, which is all powerful, all loving, unchanging, eternal, created the universe. This would mean that since he's eternal, he created time and the universe. So whatever created the universe would have to have been in some way, whether directly or indirectly, caused by him. Otherwise, we're not under the context of a universe in which a theological God exists. That's why I wasn't saying that the conclusion of those things existing have to be created. I was saying under the context of a God, whatever
Okay.
caused the universe would have to be caused by God. Other than we just have to reject God.
But wouldn't that be ad hoc reasoning? Like any explanation we can come up with in the field of science, which has like actual theories that make predictions, which already explains the origin of space and time, be
Yeah.
much better explanations for God when everybody else, like you would like ad hoc
Wait,
reason and say that
you
okay,
said for
if this
God?
wait, one sec. So if this is the way how the universe work, I think that it is God, and I can just say that it is a unicorn. Somebody else can say it's magical potatoes,
Hmm.
whatever.
Yeah, sure. So, for an example, if someone were to make a breakthrough and have some type of theory or scientific theory on the origins of our universe expansive, space time, and then they're gonna posit their belief behind that. I'm not gonna say that's gonna be scientific evidence of God only because the person who developed it said it was, right? They're gonna have to bring forth justification for that. As you said before, even if they said it was a unicorn, I don't care that they developed a theory, even if the theory is correct. There still begs
Mhm.
for justification. Why would they conclude a God even though we're granting the theory, and this happens all the time in history. There's people who do great things in mathematics, and there's people who do great things in physics, and all of them were heavily religious. But not all of them also contributed a lot of things that they don't understand to God, which was God of the gaps argument. There's no justification for it. Therefore, I'm not just going to take it as evidence of God scientifically.
So if you then reject the majority of the people when it comes to like evidence for God, what they think is God, and even if they might be trying to show like some science and like making the correlation between God based on the Big Bang or whatever, if you reject that, then you're just having your own, I think, tailored version of what you think God is, right?
Yeah, Warzone, I
Your own
disagree, right?
custom version.
So, Warzone, if somebody comes to a conclusion of what started our universe to expand, right? And they have given justification and substantiation for what caused the expansion, then I'm going to take the theory and the expansion completely 100% literal because there's evidence scientifically behind it. But I'm not going to
Mhm.
scientifically take what they're saying about God if they have no scientific evidence to back it up. They're just saying, oh, I've come to the conclusion that this is what started the expansive of the universe, and they have a whole bunch of evidence for that, and then say God is what caused that. So even though that's their
Mhm.
belief, and I'm going to respect it 100% because they are smart enough to come up with these conclusions and theories, I'm not going to accept what they say with any form of infallibility, right? If there's no justification or substantiation, the lack of belief is going to be crucial here. I'm not going to believe in what they
I
tell me
think
to believe in just because they were right
I,
one
I
time.
think Yeah, but I think it's also important to remember that we've reliably shown throughout history that when people make like maybe a scientific theory and they start making predictions about it in comparison to those people that just uses like logic or philosophy, right? Like logical evidence, philosophical evidence. They have lesser success than people that use the scientific method along with the predictions. So the point is like even if a person has a model about the world, like whether it's God, whether it's like a quantum field, if they have any assumptions in that theory, like, okay, I assume that God is real, or the other person assumes that a quantum justifies all their foundational assumptions, right? So they would still be more justified in believing that than your refutation of that because
No, no,
you are
yeah.
not providing any counter evidence, right?
They're coming to assumptions of God, right? What I'm saying is you're giving this as scientific evidence. So objectively, this isn't going to be scientific evidence. To them, this is going to be clear justification for their personal belief. But as objective scientific evidence for us to look at and analyze, you've literally just admitted to me they're making baseless assumptions. There's no evidence behind the assumption of God, but there's evidence behind the assumption of the conclusions they're coming to. So I'm going to take the conclusions they're coming to and run them and analyze them scientifically, but I simply can't scientifically analyze their leaps in faith. Just because they're making these assumptions and I think I can respect them, I just can't. See what I'm saying? Like, I understand that they're justifying it, but there's no way for me to take it and accept it within or via probabilistic scientific truth if there's no substantiation for it scientifically. I don't know why, like, we're just going to assert. I mean, this is nothing like this. It's not scientific. They're not scientifically
I
bringing
mean,
evidence for God.
their substantiation here is the predictions, right? They
It's
make the
not.
predictions are confirmed. That is the substantiation.
Oh, you're
So
saying
why
somebody.
isn't wait what
Yeah.
that
So
is
they
that
make.
literally is what the substantiation.
No, it's not. So they make predictions for something being the cause of the expansion of the universe. Those predictions are
Yeah.
true. That's substantiation
Mhm.
of the cause of the expanse of the universe, not substantiation for what they claim that came from, which was God. So yeah, it's substantiating the scientific, the probabilistic thing that they can prove within this
No, no,
truth
no,
value.
no, no. I think you may be getting confused. They could even take a leap of faith and then they could say that, okay, there is something beyond this. I think that is God. And then they have like this model they make and they make a prediction. So even if you reject
But
that, they're
why?
still
But you're saying these
justified
things
in
is God.
believing that
Wait,
because
see how?
their
Wait, I
substantiation
agree.
is the evidence, like the prediction. Yeah.
Yeah, so I agree.
So
They
what
are
is the problem
completely
then?
justifying and believing there's something after. What I'm telling you is we're talking about if you can scientifically prove God. In Warzone, you have not shown me that. You've just said people making leaps that end up being true and them contributing it to a God is proof or evidence of God. But it's simply
No,
not
it's
because there's
evidence, not
nothing.
proof.
It's
No,
not
no,
evidence.
it
It's
is
not
evidence. It can
evidence.
be
It's not.
evidence. Yes, it
It's
is.
not. It's not.
No, that's wrong. That's wrong. Anytime you make predictions and those predictions are confirmed, that is evidence for your hypothesis. So you're wrong.
Yeah, sure, but it's not wait. Yeah, so you're okay. Look,
You just conceded.
so if somebody makes a conclusion, right? This is what I'm
Mhm.
saying. I walk outside and I'm trying to come to the conclusion of how to get to my car without moving, right?
Mhm.
I end up doing
Okay.
that by developing a theory, and the theory
Okay.
works. That is evidence for
Mhm.
my theory being true because it's been demonstratingly true. They took that leap and it was demonstratingly
Yeah.
true. Maybe I didn't even have evidence
Yeah.
for
You
it.
have to make
But
predictions. Yeah.
me,
Correct.
listen, but me contributing those predictions to God is not proving God just because it was correct.
No, I'm not saying that you have to prove God, right? I'm saying I'm only
Oh,
demanding for
evidence. I'm
evidence. So that
using
would
proof
still
and
be
evidence.
evidence for God.
Listen, I'm using proof and evidence anonymously. It's not
Okay.
evidence of
Fine. Yeah.
God. It's not.
Yeah. It would be evidence of God that you are rejecting that or
It,
pretending that
it,
that cannot be evidence. I'm telling you that like when we do the method of science, when we like try to show what evidence is, it would come in the form of predictions. That is what evidence is.
it wouldn't be scientifically. It wouldn't be scientific evidence of God. There's nothing to observe.
What it would literally be scientific evidence of
It's
God. If you make
literally
predictions
not.
about the future that you don't yet know and get them right, that is evidence for God. That
Wait,
would be
wait.
evidence
So
for God.
wait. All right. This is what I'm asking. Did they get that right via God? Or are they saying God communicated that to them?
I didn't understand. Can you
Oh
repeat?
yeah, are they saying God communicated those predictions to them? Is that how they know it's true? Is because God told them it's true, and that's why
I
they're
mean,
attributing it to God?
that's what they claim, right?
Okay, but this like look, so this is what I was saying earlier. Like I've already answered this earlier. So under the context of this conversation, we're presupposing a God and theology that has not yet interacted with us. So he has not
Yeah. So
talked.
you're having your separate version, right? I'm talking about the general idea of God, which God communicates. But
Wait,
again, you
wait,
already agreed. You already agreed that God has somehow interacted with the universe, right? He created the universe. How would he create
wait.
without having any
I
kind of
I
interaction?
just explained to you that under this context, we're not talking about a God that's interacted with. And this entire
Okay.
argument you're
How can
making is
God?
God
Okay. Explain to me
physically
how God can create the universe without interaction.
I just told you it's abstractly emitting energies. It's second cause. He's not. He's an indirect cause of it. Like for an example, a
Okay.
chain of
But how
events
would
go
that be
off.
possible? Yeah. How would that be
I just
possible? Like you
told
need to
you
explain. Show the
God
step.
can be the cause. Yeah, it's second cause, right? So for an example, if I have a stick wedged under a rock and I punch or I hit that stick down, it's gonna move the rock. The rock is gonna go destroy an entire village. The village is gonna go
Hmm.
on forth and on forth and on forth, right? This is just gonna
Okay.
be a chain of sequencing and events. God could
Sure.
have been the cause of something that caused that chain. This doesn't entail any form of direct interaction, especially since you've already conceded
Okay.
we
Can
can't
he?
see.
Yeah. Can
Wait,
he do that indirectly?
yeah.
Okay, so
Wait, he
basically
interacted
you've admitted
indirectly.
like indirect like what interaction, right? It's still an interaction, right?
Yeah,
He
but
doesn't
it's
does
not
not
an
achieve
observable
interaction. So
interaction. It's not an
so the
observable
point is like
interaction.
as long as there is some kind of an interaction, the interaction or whatever change is caused by that interaction
It's
is the
outside
change
of
that
our
can be
universe.
measured.
It's outside of our universe, right? So the
Yeah, it
thing that
doesn't matter.
caused,
I'm saying you
yeah, we
agreed with me
can't
that there is a
wait.
kind of like
You agreed with
indirect
me that
interaction.
you agreed with me that we cannot observe anything outside of our universe. You even appealed to the photo I was speaking of, which is the farthest back we can
No,
see in the.
we no wait, no, we can, right? Like we can appeal to
Wait,
like
we can
quantum fields.
observe. Wait, we can observe to things outside of our universe. We can
Not
observe.
direct observation. We can
Okay,
indirectly infer the existence of things outside the
okay,
universe.
but we cannot observe them, right?
You don't need to, right? That's why we have indirect observation. Like we
That's
don't have to
yeah.
directly be there at the event of a murder to know that the murder happened. We can
Yeah,
use
got
indirect
no,
evidence like
100%.
fingerprints to know it actually happened.
But the murder can be observed. We're
No,
arguing
but I'm saying that
possibilities.
even if we didn't observe, we can still infer the existence of the murder
Yeah,
by
but
looking at
I'm
the
arguing
fingerprints.
possibility of absorption. You cannot, but like whether or not a murder you observed it, we're arguing whether it's possible to observe it. So is it possible to observe the quantum fields? I'm not arguing can we do it right now. Is it possible?
Currently, I don't think we can. We just know it
Not observe.
indirectly.
Okay, but let's just say I even take the indirect knowledge of it. We cannot observe anything outside of our universe scientifically. We can come to scientific conclusions of things outside of our universe, but even if
No,
we
wait,
do that, there's no way to know what caused that, which is what would be God.
wait. Again, you're getting confused. It's not that we don't like observe that in science. We do observe, but it's indirect observation.
I just responded to that. We're indirectly observing it. Now, how are
Yeah.
we going to indirectly observe something that caused something we're indirectly observing?
Yeah, because there is no cause for that. Like you're asserting that there is something that caused that, but the evidence shows that
Yeah,
that thing is uncaused.
that's the whole point of what we're talking about. We're presupposing the context in which a God caused that. What do you mean? Yes, I'm
Yeah,
presupposing that a
you're
God caused that.
presupposing that, right? You don't have a way to show that. It's just a claim that
What?
you made. There is no substantiation of
Warzone,
that claim.
are you here right now? Wait, all right, what is the topic that we're talking about right now, Warzone?
You're talking about this in the context where God is the thing that caused a thing that like is supposedly supposed
No,
to be
God,
uncaused,
no,
right? Like a quantum
Warzone.
field. A quantum field is uncaused. So you just asserting that it is caused, you have to like show some substantiation of that.
Okay, Warzone, look. So right now we're talking about whether or not God's existence is more probable than aliens' existence. Your argument is that
Yeah, it's
scientifically
less probable.
aliens can be observed, and I said obviously under the definition of science. And then now we
Mhm.
just want an entire argument of you trying to scientifically prove God without interacting, which is impossible. Afterwards, you
No,
finally got to
no.
watch. Wait,
You already agreed that God like interacts indirectly. So it's still an
yeah,
interaction.
without interaction. After that, I was just going to talk about that. After that, we got into indirect interactions via causing a chain of events, which I've already given an analogy for. I hit a stick, the stick moves the rock destroys the village destroys that. Therefore, if we're observing quantum fields outside of our universe that caused our universe, God would have to cause these things under the context of God. Do you agree with this?
No, because like quantum fields by definition is like eternal, so there
Okay,
is no
listen.
cause.
So if quantum fields eternally existed and generated the expansion of our universe, where
Mhm.
does God fit into the picture here? Was he just existing with the
Mhm.
quantum fields? We're
Nowhere.
going under
Yeah, nowhere. He's just like
God's
garbage, right?
nowhere?
Like, there's
Wait,
no evidence.
listen to me, Warzone. I'm not trying to prove God exists to you. Do you understand what's happening right now? I'm trying to
No,
prove
I
you
understand, but I'm
using the
saying that your
concept of
argument is dumb
theological.
because if the quantum fields are eternal, it doesn't need something prior to it. That is the thing that you're
Listen,
adding here.
I'm not saying the quantum fields need something. Listen, I'm not making an argument against quantum fields or that God created them. I'm saying right now,
Okay.
me and you are talking about a hypothetical situation in which God is real and aliens are
Hmm.
real. Which one's easier
Okay.
to prove in science? This is what we're doing. So you can't
Sure.
say
Aliens. Yeah.
if God's not real. You understand what I'm saying?
I mean, no, God is unlikely to be real. I wouldn't say like in the absolute
Okay.
sense like he's
Look,
not real. It's
look.
obviously if I say God is not real, or if I say that magical pixies aren't real, I'm not expressing this in an absolute sense. I'm expressing this in a probabilistic sense.
Okay, yeah, scientific probabilistic truths. But what I'm saying is
Yeah.
we have a universe, right? We have a set universe. In this universe, or in this existence, God created the universe and everything within it. And
Hmm.
aliens exist within it. Us as humans on planet Earth, which would be easier to scientifically prove? God or the aliens? Remember, under this
Aliens.
context, God has not interacted with us in any way, shape, or form, and has only
Hmm.
had indirect interactions with the creation of the universe that we can't even
Okay.
observe. So this
Yeah. I
means
mean, aliens
God,
would be easier. Yeah. Sure. Aliens would
yeah,
be
so
easier. Okay.
aliens would be easier under science, yes. So
Sure,
you,
but it wouldn't be
yeah,
impossible, right?
to prove God, yeah, right here it would be
Yeah.
impossible.
No, it wouldn't be impossible. You just agreed with me that God indirectly interacted with the universe to
Yeah,
create it.
but it's
So if he has
unobservable. It's
indirectly,
unobservable.
what?
It's an
Yeah, it
unobservable
doesn't have to be, right?
interaction.
I already told you in science we have direct observation, indirect observation. So indirect
Yeah, look,
observation
it's
is how we would try to
unobservable
arrive at
directly or
conclusions about
indirectly.
certain.
Look, it's
What?
unobservable directly or indirectly. We can't apply any methods of science to it at all. Does that make sense?
No, that's not. That's impossible. Like that claim that you made is impossible because you already made the claim that God has indirectly interacted with the universe. Interaction means the thing
No,
that
he didn't.
happens
He
after
didn't.
the interaction is something that can be measured.
I got you. I got you. So as
Yeah.
of right now, there's an extent in which we can actually observe the universe for, and then there's things that we can indirectly observe within the universe. I'm gonna ask you this right now: if something,
Mhm.
or if we were to indirectly interact with something that we are theoretically saying caused our universe, and that
Mhm.
thing had a cause, is there any way to interact with that? You have to say no. It's impossible. We can't go that far
Wait,
in the
can you repeat the whole thing again? I
Oh
quite
yeah,
didn't
yeah, I
quite
got you.
catch that.
So
Yeah.
basically, let's just say we have a universe that started expanding, such as ours, and then we have something that we cannot interact with, is what caused our universe to start expanding.
Hmm.
We can only
Yeah.
indirectly interact with this, right? An example was quantum
Hmm.
fields, but let's just say it's not quantum fields in this example.
Hmm.
Now, let's just
Yeah.
say that was caused by something else, that was caused by something else that God caused.
True.
There's no
Yeah.
way for us to get further in the chain than that first initial unobservable thing. Or
So I think what you're trying to say here is like imagine the universe was caused by some thing that was like indirectly interacting with it. Let's say like a hypothetical quantum field, and there is like no connection with like the universe. It like doesn't touch it, and because of that, it would be impossible to infer its existence. Is that what you're trying to say?
yeah, but substitute it for God.
Yeah, it still would be possible because, like, let's say the quantum field or God had some kind of like indirect way to interact with the universe. This interaction is what I would call a non-local connection, something that wouldn't be confined by the limits of space and time. Whatever that connection is, even if it's indirect, even if it interacts like indirectly, the point is like if we see some kind
Warzone.
of change in the universe, which we make a new hypothesis for, and we make a prediction, and the prediction talks about something
Warzone.
outside the
Can you
universe, which
prove that we can
we don't really know.
scientifically prove that? Because you're
No, wait,
saying
I'm
like,
just saying, no, I'm just saying that if we start with a hypothesis where we suspect the existence of something outside the universe that did not directly interact with it, it may have directly or indirectly interacted with it doesn't really matter. But if the hypothesis can make successful
but listen,
predictions,
this is what I'm
it
saying though.
doesn't
How
really
do we
matter
get
if
to
it's
the
direct or
hypothesis?
indirect,
How,
it
wait,
would
how
be
are we
evidence
coming
for the
to
hypothesis.
Warzone? How are we scientifically coming to this conclusion? What are the steps we have to take? Can you go like what are we observing to come to this conclusion? Can
Okay,
you would
so
have to
let's say,
prove that we can
yeah, let's
scientifically
say
demonstrate
through,
it right now?
okay, fine, yeah. So let's say through indirect interaction, like something happens in the earth where, like, the waters like split into, like what
Yeah,
Moses
I
sees.
just
Okay, God
listen.
is
I just
directly.
told you God. Wait, listen to
I
me.
am telling you, no, no, wait,
No.
you're getting
I said
confused. You're getting
God.
confused.
No,
No,
I'm
no, no,
not.
you're not
I said
understanding how this
God's
works.
not
You're
interacting.
not understanding how this works. God is not directly interacting. I'm taking exactly your position. God is
Wait,
indirectly
that's not my
interacting and
position.
causing.
Not
Stop,
my
stop, stop,
position.
stop. Just stop for a minute. Okay, God is indirectly interacting with the universe, just like you said. Okay, and
That's
He's
not what I
splitting the
said.
waters. Okay,
That's
if
not
the
what I
waters
said.
split and we can measure the change, that is still evidence. So you would
Warzone,
have
that's
to show
not
how
what I
that's
said. I said, listen,
that's exactly what you said. Indirectly interacting.
God is not interacting with the universe in any way. He's indirectly interacted with the cause of the universe, the creation of it.
Yeah,
Meaning
yeah, yeah.
God is
I
not going to
basically.
affect the universe at all naturally.
Mhm,
There's no natural affection of God. He's not going to interact with people. He's not going to interact
mhm,
with phenomena, natural events. The stars aren't going to
mhm.
explode because of him. No physical interactions from God. Only
Okay,
the
fine.
initial
So
cause
yeah.
of the creation.
Okay,
That
wait,
wasn't
wait.
even
So
directly
I
from
was
him.
using no, I was using the sea example just as an example. That doesn't mean that I
But it's
wasn't
not
talking
analogous.
about.
But it's not analogous.
No,
You
it
have
is
to be able to
no, it is perfectly
listen. No,
analogous.
look,
I was just
it's
using
not.
that as an example. No,
If
no,
the
no, wait,
sea
stop, stop.
splits
I
open,
was using
then
no,
that's
no.
a
I was using that. I was using that as an example to compare even with the origins of the universe. If we suspected something happened and we made a hypothesis about it, only about the beginning of the universe, and we made predictions that would still be evidence. Just like in the case if God indirectly interacted with water here and made some change, we could measure that change.
it's not
That would still be
analogous.
evidence.
It's not
Yes, it
analogous.
is
Let me tell
analogous.
you why.
Yes, it is
Because
analogous.
God
I showed
interacting
you
with
how it is perfectly
okay,
analogous
wait, can I
by
respond?
mapping that onto the beginning of the universe, where the
Wait,
universe began. We
it's not
suspect
analogous.
something about the beginning. God indirectly interacted, and He caused the beginning. That would make predictions,
Uh,
and that those predictions would be
I
evidence.
got you. I'm gonna
It's still
respond now.
analogous,
It's not analogous because when God's interacting with something like an
dude.
ocean,
I just
direct.
told you how it
Wait,
works. All right. I
I
gave you an
know you
example.
told Warzone. I know you told me it doesn't mean it's correct. I'm refuting it. Do you understand how a conversation works? We're debating. It's a point of contingency. I
What?
disagree. So listen, the
No,
reason
you
why it's
can
not
disagree all
analogous,
you want. I use.
Warzone,
I disagree.
Warzone, just let him go. For you had a nice long rant. Let him have a nice long rant.
Warzone, all I'm saying is coming to the conclusion that they're analogous because one is observable and one is indirectly observable is completely preposterous. If we're looking at God interacting with something like our ocean is physically observable and can be demonstratingly done with science. And it's also indirectly observable and can be done with science. Versus God only indirectly interacting with the cause of the universe is not something we can observe. We can only indirectly observe that. And that thing, the causation of it would be God. So you saying that God interacting with the sea is analogous to God interacting with something that indirectly interacted with our universe is completely crazy. There is no physical scientific way we could come to a probabilistic truth, whether it's a theory or anything we can demonstrate within science, observing it or indirectly observing it, that God indirectly caused our universe because there's nothing to observe or indirectly observe. Do you understand what I'm saying? In the analogy I'm giving, I'm positing that there's nothing for us to observe. There's a non observable, interactable God. So, how are you
I
still coming
used
to
your exact.
you were
Sorry, sorry,
talking the
sorry,
entire time?
sorry. It's just let go ahead and finish.
No, I mean, that's it. I
Uh,
just repeated it.
No, I'm just saying you disagreed with like the example of the ocean, right? Which I'm fine with. So then I went to the beginning of the universe, and you agreed that God has some way to like indirectly interact. So I said that if we start even with the beginning of the universe, we make a hypothesis. If the hypothesis makes predictions, that would still be evidence.
But we
Why
can't
don't
look
you
at the
get that?
beginning of the universe. You conceded to that
What?
before. We can't look at the beginning of the
I just
universe.
give you examples of how we can like bring up
Wait, it's
candidate explanations
scientifically
of things before the
impossible.
universe.
Wait, listen.
What?
You can come into
It's not impossible.
indirectly
Quantum
observable.
fields are a candidate explanations of what could have happened before the
Yeah,
Big Bang. We don't
but
have to like see before the Big Bang.
I got you. But quantum fields aren't going to work under the context of God because quantum fields are going to be eternal even under your standpoint, meaning they're
Mhm.
eternal and cause the universe. We're talking about a universe where God exists and aliens exist. So we're talking about a basic theist God who created the universe. Do you understand me? So quantum fields can't exist simultaneously with God if they are eternal and cause the universe because God caused the universe.
I mean, like what we have now, what we have the evidence for now is like quantum field. So I would go with that. Like God, yeah, that's the idea.
What? No, look. Wait, so I said this in the beginning. We're looking in a theoretical universe, right? This is hypothetical, where God exists and aliens exist. Us right now, we try to come to a conclusion using science on which one exists. What is more easy or what is more probable to prove? Under the context of the God that I've already described, he's non-interactable with the universe, only indirectly interacting with the cause, which can't be quantum fields to be theorized about. Non-interactable with humans. Not only that, but this is a basic theist God, meaning he had to have created the universe. So how are we going to scientifically prove a God that there's no way to observe, and he's never interacted with us or the universe? He's only interacted with the thing that caused the universe. Can you answer that?
Yeah, like if the thing that caused the universe, and he only indirectly interacted with the thing that caused the universe, but we see some kind of anomaly in the universe that's changing as a result of that cause, and then we make a
Yeah,
new hypothesis about something beyond the cause itself. And if if that
yeah.
hypothesis makes
How
predictions,
would
that
we
would still
do
be
it?
evidence.
How would we do it? You're
What?
just saying if we did. How would we scientifically do it? You have to prove that we
I
can't.
just gave you an
How,
example, right? Are you like dumb? Like, did you listen to what I said?
the
I'm saying
example you gave was quantum
if
theory.
we notice, stop interrupting. If we notice some new kind of change in the universe and we make a new model about the first cause of the universe and we want to add something additional to that first cause where we suspect that there could be something beyond that, and if the model makes predictions, that would still be evidence.
What
Like, how
caused that
difficult is
change
this
in the
for you to understand?
what caused that random change in the universe, Warzone?
Whatever the cause is, like the first cause or like whatever other natural phenomena in the universe is being affected by that.
So why are you script writing? You're narrative generating again. You're generating a narrative in which the
What?
you're generating the narrative in which the universe randomly changes in a way in which we're going to completely design a hypothetical theory in which God exists, which you have to give in order to prove science can do it. You can't just say this is going to happen and then we're going to do this and then we're going to do that and then we're going to do that all the way up to that. You can't say that. You have to prove it.
No, no, you're not understanding. You're asking me for a circumstance under which we could actually justify the existence of God scientifically. And I gave you an example. This is the way how science works.
I was
I
not
have the
asking you
first
for an
cause, which is a
example.
quantum field. Wait, stop. I have a first cause, which is a quantum field. Now, in my new model, I want to add something additional to that. Okay, that's the extra assumption, which might be a God, which might be some magical pixie or whatever. I make new predictions about this hypothesis, about things we don't yet know, and we get them right. That would still be evidence for God.
Yeah, so I wasn't asking you to generate a entire hypothetical universe in which something happens with God's interaction. I'm telling you right now, how could we scientifically prove God, or to prove that we could scientifically prove God, under or proof? I'm using proof and evidence synonymous here. How could we fork up any scientific evidence of God if there's no way to observe Him directly or indirectly, and there's no interaction of the said God? Right now, I don't want you to generate a random script where this happens and then we do that. That sounds
Dude,
awesome,
that's
but
literally what you're doing. You're generating a hypothetical scenario in which I have to like
that's
engage with you to arrive at a certain conclusion. That is exactly
yeah,
what I'm
because
doing. So
that's what the
what's the problem
argument
if
is.
I
We're
do it?
talking about aliens and God, but you have to engage with
No,
the
I just
prompt.
gave you,
You can't
dude.
add
I
on to the
explained to
prompt.
you more than 4 times. Are you like really that dumb? Like I just told you, like
Right?
even if God is the cause of like the first quantum field, and the quantum field is the cause of our universe, I gave you a literal example in science in which such things can be justified.
No, you
Even if
didn't.
we add like if we add like an extra assumption to the quantum field that something else before that caused it, and we make like predictions, and those predictions come true,
Where's
that would still be scientific evidence, even if you
do
want to
you see
pretend
how
that it's
you're
not. It
just
still is.
do you see how you're just saying we make predictions and the predictions become true? That's not proving that science can do it, right? I can do the
No,
same thing right
if
now. I
we
could say
make a
science
prediction,
makes
wait,
predictions
if
about
we
God,
make a
and
prediction, you're getting it wrong. You don't understand how this works. If we make a prediction and if we confirm those predictions, that would count as evidence.
okay, this is what I'm
Do you not
saying.
get it?
You have to give justification for us doing that in the context of God existing. How
Yeah,
would we
we've done
do
that
it?
for we've
How?
done that for like tons of. I've just given you an example.
We've
It
never
doesn't
done it
matter
for
what it is.
God. The
It
example
doesn't
you
matter if
gave was
it's God.
quantum
It
fields.
doesn't matter if it's God in the 11th dimension, 12th dimension, some like far beyond like a physical universe. None of that matters. Any assumption, no matter how wild it is, even if it's like beings in a higher dimension, even if it's
Mhm.
God in some crazy other reality,
How would you
if we make
scientifically
predictions,
justify it?
predictions are justification for whatever the foundational assumptions are,
Yeah.
even if it's God like
Mhm.
disconnected from our reality or whatever.
So someone makes a prediction. Can you give an example of how someone, or an analogy of when someone would make a prediction in our observable universe
I'm saying
to a
if they
God who's
do, that
uninteractable?
would serve as evidence.
Yeah, but what would they make the prediction about?
like now let's say that we go with quantum field theory, right, where we think that fields are the most fundamental. So now I come up with a new hypothesis where I suspect that, just like what
Okay,
you said,
why are
that
you
God
coming
is
up with that
probably the
though?
cause. I'm giving you an example. So if I want to add this idea of God to like quantum fields and that he's the cause, then I come up with a new scientific hypothesis that he's like the indirect cause of like
Okay,
quantum
yeah.
fields, and then
Let's
quantum
do a
fields are the
yeah.
direct cause of the
Let's do
universe.
it right now.
I make
So
predictions. I make
yeah,
predictions that those
Warzone.
predictions being
Yeah.
confirmed would be
Here's
evidence
what I'm
for my
saying. So
hypothesis.
you're saying, let's just say, like you adopt or take under the viewpoint of there being quantum fields the cause of the universe, but you want to add on that God was the cause of the quantum fields. You need
Yeah.
justification. Why are you going to add this onto it? What happened for you to come to this conclusion? What did you
Oh no, it
observe?
doesn't. No, no, no. No, no. It the assumptions in a scientific theory does not have to be justified.
Okay,
Like
boom.
when you start with a
So you
conjecture.
have
Wait, wait.
an
When you start,
assumption that's
wait. Hold on,
unjustified,
hold on,
not
hold on, hold
substantiated,
on.
and you want me to take
When you
scientific evidence.
start with a conjecture is something that does not need any evidence. Okay, anybody can start with a conjecture. My
Yeah,
conjecture is that I believe God caused the quantum field indirectly. Then quantum fields caused the universe. Now I have like a bunch of assumptions. Nobody cares about my assumptions.
yeah.
But
But how are
once
you going to
I make
scientifically
this a
justify
testable
them?
hypothesis, once I make this a testable hypothesis and have like experimental validation of all the predictions, and these predictions are confirmed, then I don't have to justify
But
anything.
listen,
It's
I
automatically
got you. But
justified.
Warzone, what I'm saying is there is no conceivable predictions you could do to scientifically come to the conclusion of God, since God is just going to be supernatural and immaterial, unobservable, uninteractable.
Okay,
Under this
okay.
context,
Let
so
me
there's no
okay.
way to
Let me give you an
scientifically
example.
come to the.
No, no,
Please,
you
God,
can,
go
you
ahead.
can. You're not understanding.
Go.
Like,
Give
let
me
me
an
give you an
example.
example. If I start with the God hypothesis, okay, and then I make a prediction about something that physicalism didn't yet make, like let's say white holes. Like white holes are theoretical; we've never observed them. Just like how we made a prediction about black holes and observed them. So if I start with the God hypothesis and I make a prediction, I discover white holes with the God theory, God hypothesis, whatever, that still justifies the God hypothesis. You still
What
don't
is
get
this
it.
guy
I got
talking
you.
about, man?
I got you. So what I'm telling you is you making these assumptions, right?
Shut your bitch
And
ass
coming to
up.
the conclusion of them, if anything, would just be affirming the consequence. You're presupposing a baseline or level and model, such as the Godhead, or you're presupposing the model of God, and then coming to the conclusion by deriving something else. I don't think that's justification for what you presupposed in any way, shape, or form. Especially if you can't prove correlation. You would have to prove there's a correlation between your theory of God and the white holes, and you have to give an example of how they would correlate with a God who's unobservable.
No, you don't have to. You come up with any wild hypothesis. You make like predictions. You have like
Oh,
a small number of assumptions. It is like you have a parsimonious explanation. That's all you need.
listen to me. Listen to me, Warzone. So let's just say someone presupposes a model and they do a study that would only work under that model. I agree that that's evidence for that presupposition. What I'm saying is you're
Mhm.
presupposing that what they did would only work under that model. You would have to give justification for correlation. Why does your theory of God correlate in any way with the proof of white holes? You have right now. Could you give me an example of how
No,
in
you don't have to.
immaterial,
That's what I'm telling you. You don't have to.
Okay,
You
I'm
make a
telling you
wild
you do. It's not
hypothesis. You
evidence. It's
may
not
know you
evidence.
don't. Like you don't. That's like outright
All right, it's
false. You make
Okay,
a
listen.
prediction.
It's
Predictions are
unjustifiable.
confirmed. There doesn't have to be any correlation at all. You make a prediction. Prediction comes true about some things that like the other scientific models cannot like make predictions of. You make these predictions using your new model. Your model is justified. It doesn't really matter if you can
So,
show
so,
any kind of
so,
correlation.
I
Zero.
got
You
you.
don't have to.
But scientifically, it's not evidence then. And if you say it is, we're just gonna
No, it
disagree.
is.
To
No,
just
it is evidence. That's
Okay,
because
so
you're wrong.
someone making a jump, a baseless jump with no correlation to the conclusion, and no way to repeat it, no way to demonstrate it again, no way to observe it, no way to show it to anybody, no way to physically demonstrate it. This is not science. It's not a scientific definition. You're making a baseless
No, it
jump.
is.
You
It
just
is.
admitted
You
it
just don't
has
understand how
no
it works. That's a problem.
it doesn't have
Nope. You're just
justification
wrong.
behind it.
Nope, you don't have to because people can make all kinds of like
Okay,
logical
but I know
correlations
they
of
don't
things.
have to. But listen,
Just wait.
Warzone.
You're
I
you're just
know they
dumb.
don't have
You're
to.
dumb. You're dumb. You don't understand how this
Warzone.
works.
I
So
know they don't
the
have to
problem, like you
justify
need
it.
to
I'm
go to
saying
like
if they
science
don't
elementary
justify it,
school,
it's no
right?
longer
You need to go
evidence.
to science elementary school. What you don't understand here is when you do science, like the
Hmm.
difference between like people that can do all kinds of ad hoc reasoning, people can like do a lot of post hoc ad hoc reasoning, make a lot of correlations, like causal connections between things. They can give you the best possible explanations, but nobody in science ever accepts that, no matter how logical it is, no matter what kind of correlations you can show, because anybody can fucking ad hoc reason to fit all the current data. The only thing that would
Yeah.
matter is if your hypothesis makes future testable predictions. That's the only thing
Alright.
that would matter.
So you're saying a baseless jump with no justification or correlation is evidence. I'm disagreeing. So I'm just gonna say scientifically it's impossible to prove God unless you make a baseless jump with no justification under your belief. So we're both
Yeah,
agreeing that
I
you
can make a baseless
can't
jump right now
justify
that magical
correlation.
Bob. Wait. No, I don't have to. That's what I told you. You're wrong about that,
Listen,
right? So
Warzone, I
people can.
already know you don't
No,
have
no.
to. I already know that.
People can. No. That's what you know based on your limited understanding of how science works. If I make a claim that magical Bob exists in the 11th dimension, it's like a completely baseless claim. I don't show like any correlation with with anything. I make a prediction that if I pray to Bob like in the next 5 minutes, like a gold brick would magically appear. I pray to Bob, a magic brick, like a golden brick magically appears. That would still be justification for Bob, even if I can't show any correlation. It doesn't matter
Wait, no,
what number
wait.
of
You
correlations.
already showed
It
correlation.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what number of correlations you can
Well,
show.
yeah,
Like only
Warzone.
what matters is the prediction.
The example you just gave was correlation. The correlation is you prayed to Bob
Mhm,
and a brick appeared. The correlation of
mhm.
the brick of gold and Bob is going to be your praying to Bob. That's directly connecting them. That's
Yeah.
making
So
a
the
correlation.
correlation here is that God caused the quantum field.
No, I'm saying under the context of you presupposing God existing, and then you saying, or you presupposing the theory of God indirectly causing quantum fields that indirectly cause the universe, and then coming to the
Mhm.
conclusion that white holes exist from that, that's going to somehow prove that your model of God is real without demonstrating to us how the two things are interacting or correspond. So, under that situation, because you did it with the Bob analogy, tell me in a situation of how that analogy is going to be able to correspond with the existence of white holes.
Yeah, just like how I presuppose that that praying to God is going to praying to Bob is somehow going to correlate to gold bricks magically appearing. Like there is no correlation. I'm just asserting that correlation.
There is a correlation. You prayed to Bob, and then B happened. A happened, and then B
Yeah, okay.
happened.
So my correlation here is that if God is true, white holes will appear. That's the correlation.
Yeah, that's what I'm just gonna put into question your conclusion. Then you need justification. Go ahead.
Okay, then what is the justification in the case of Bob?
No,
I'm
how?
just
Yeah,
assuming that.
I got you. No, I got you. So you're saying that you prayed to Bob for something outside of reason. Something then outside of reason occurred. This would make it probable that Bob is real. But under the context of you saying if God is real, therefore black holes exist because he's real, or white holes exist because God is real, right? I'm just gonna say, how are you coming to that conclusion? We know how you came to the last conclusion. It's because something outside of
Mhm.
reason occurred when you actually temporally demonstrated it. Right when you prayed, it
No,
occurred.
in the case of Bob, I don't even know if Bob exists. I'm just asserting that if I pray to him,
Yeah,
I'll
I
get
know.
this magical gold brick, right? So
You
in the
requested
case
for
of God,
something outside of reason.
I'm assuming the existence of God. If God is real, white holes will appear. That's it.
Okay,
In
got you.
breath.
So you're saying if God is real, white holes will appear.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you to prove the conclusion scientifically. How can you scientifically conclude that? Go.
Yeah, if the evidence makes if the model makes a prediction, that would be evidence.
No, listen, I want you to tell me it under the context of the analogy you
I just
gave
told
me.
you.
You
I just
didn't.
told
You
you.
said if he makes a
I
prediction. What is
literally told
the
you what the
prediction?
evidence is. The evidence is you making the prediction. That is the evidence.
Okay, wait. So right now, wait, I got you. So this is just gonna be completely illogical. This goes against logic. So for an example,
No, we don't. No. We don't
no,
care.
I
We don't
did.
care about what. No, we don't care about what is logical. There are tons of things that are
You
logical
don't
which doesn't
care
make
about
sense in
what is
quantum mechanics.
logical.
Wait. There are tons of things which makes logical sense to you in standard logic that
I
doesn't
got
make
you.
sense to you in quantum mechanics.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
why we
aware.
have
Like
quantum
something
logic,
that has no
right? So it
state of.
doesn't matter
I
what
got
makes
you.
logical sense to you. Nobody cares.
So
Reality
right
doesn't
now,
care
but we're
about
not
what
talking
makes
about
logical
quantum.
sense to you.
I got you. So we're not talking about quantum logic, but let's talk about like the simple fallacy that you demonstrated here. So
No fallacy.
if I were to try to come to a conclusion that I won this debate by setting two premises that lead to a conclusion without reason, it would be completely outrageous, right? For an example, I'm gonna make a logical syllogism right now. Premise one, I exist. Premise two, you exist. Conclusion, I win this debate. Do you see how that's not evidence from winning debate, nor can it be justification or substantiation from winning the debate, because the conclusion doesn't follow from the premise you set. So the conclusion does not follow from the two premises you set. Black hole,
It
if
doesn't
God
have
is
to.
real, white holes will. You're saying it doesn't
No,
have to. But
no, no,
logically
no.
it
It
does.
doesn't have to. You're still not understanding, right? You're trying to use mere philosophy here. Nobody gives a fuck
It's
about like
not.
mere
It's not
philosophy.
philosophy. It's not
What we care
philosophy.
is about conclusions that you reach by using evidence. You use conclusions plus an evidence. Once you start using evidence, that would be a
There's no
justification
evidence.
for what
There's
you
no
believe in.
evidence. There's no evidence. You're
No,
just saying.
I gave you no, no,
You're
no.
saying
You're
A
just dumb.
and
I just
B
gave you an
lead.
example. You're dumb. I just
It
gave you an example of what the evidence
Warzone.
would be. The evidence would be if God exists.
You're
I'm just
saying
making a
A
claim
and
that if
B.
God exists,
Yeah, that's what
white
I'm
holes would
saying.
appear. I make an observation. I observe white holes. That would be evidence for God. You still
I
don't
Alright,
may,
so
I
understand.
may,
you're saying
I may stop you. I may stop you guys because now you're going in circles. Like you've been going in circles for about 5-10 minutes, and I've kind of let it go. But like, you guys have been
Mhm.
going for like an hour at this point, 45 minutes. It's like, do you guys want to kind of step off the gas and
Okay.
relax?
Anybody else want to talk?
No,
Like,
I'm
wait,
not.
hold on.
I'm not saying either of you won or lost or have beaten each other or whatever the fuck. I'm just saying you guys are like going nowhere at this point. And if you want to step off the brakes, maybe go get something to drink. You totally
I'm just
can.
gonna put my conclusion in the side chat.
Yeah, it's like if you guys want to make some type of, if you guys want to make some type of, final statements, then we could talk about other shit. I mean, Snowy's been technically patiently waiting to talk to someone for the past hour.
Alright, so premise 1, I'm real. Premise 2, Warzone's real. Conclusion, I win.
Shut your ass up, bruh.
Conclusion,
Warzone is ass, my guy. DCX is way better.
conclusion, conclusion, I win. Alright, GG's Warzone. I just won.
Yeah. If you say you won, then I just said it in the side chat. People who say that they win debates are like the biggest losers in debates.
No, I was just giving a conclusion based off of the logic you wanted me to use. GG's.
I was like, Warzone. Did you want to say? I think Warzone stepped away.
Wait,
which is fine.
Warzone, do you disagree with my syllogism?
It looks like he stepped away, which is fine.
Oh, he's talking about the actual discount.